Hello and welcome to our second and last sea day of this Azura cruise.
Yes, we've been on board now. This is our fourth day and it's all going by very, very quickly.
This morning then we got up about 8:30 and headed straight down to breakfast.
Yeah, so we joined the virtual queue as we were making ourselves ready for the world, and not long we got called down to the Peninsula restaurant. We got seated pretty quickly, sat down and ordered. If we're honest, it wasn't probably the best experience that we'd had in one of the main dining rooms on board. We did feel a little bit rushed in terms of the service and the selection of food that was available. It's pretty much standard. I've had eggs benedicts for the last few mornings and I really fancied something different this morning. To start, I had a fruit cup. Well, a fruit salad, which was lovely and fresh. But then I fancied some bagels with some cream cheese. So I asked the server, and he did say to me he didn't know whether or not they had any cream cheese. He then said that he'd go and find out and come back and let me know.
I had crunchy nut to start, as I always do. That's my favourite cereal. Then I ordered pancakes, American style pancakes, which are on the menu with maple syrup. And then both our meals arrived.
I got my bagels, but no cream cheese. I did have to ask the waiter, and he said no, they didn't do any. But
no, so you just had dry
bagels.
Dry bagels. I had 3 pancakes. There was no maple syrup, so he gave me honey. I'm not very keen on that on pancakes at all, so I ended up eating a pancake with some jam on. So not ideal for pancake day. Pancake with no maple syrup.
Overall, I wouldn't say it was our best experience in the main dining room for breakfast. We did feel really rushed, and breakfast wasn't perhaps the most enjoyable experience today.
After breakfast then we headed to the main atrium and grabbed a couple of coffees from Java. Now, are we saying Java correctly? Is it Java or Java?
Java if we're Spanish.
So we'll say Java, but if we're wrong, please let us know. I've never actually heard anyone else say the name out loud.
No. We'll have to ask.
We'll ask. So we'll go with Java now. We had 2 flat whites from Java, prepared really quickly, ready, nice and hot, easy peasy.
We took them and walked along the promenade because it's a beautiful sea day. It did look a little bit overcast, to be honest, but it was a really nice walk out there, a bit of fresh air. The ship is going incredibly slow.
We are making our way to La Palma at about 8 knots, so yeah, it does feel like the ship is hardly moving, just taking it nice and easy. As we were walking around the deck, we cut across from one side of the ship to the other and noticed there was a talk going on in the theatre.
It was well attended. It was an educational talk on architecture. We stayed for a little while and had a look, and it was quite interesting because they were talking about a lot of the places that we'd been.
We mentioned Lisbon Cathedral, Notre Dame, Tower in Bruges, I don't know the name off the top of my head. Talk was about how we've gone from Roman architecture to Gothic architecture. So if you'd like to attend some educational talks, there's plenty of that going on board.
As it was slightly overcast, we thought we'd just double check what it was like up on the pool deck on decks 15 and 16. And to our surprise, the sun was absolutely blazing hot and it was getting very busy up there.
It was very busy.
One of the little challenges of the sun deck and the pool area is sun loungers. Now, it's a bit like a sun lounger jigsaw puzzle. There are plenty of loungers on board. They tend to be stacked in corners around the deck, and you can just pick up a lounger and position it wherever you want. That is, wherever it will fit. A lot of passengers will squeeze sun loungers in between other sun loungers, and it is really quite a tricky manoeuvre.
What we will say, there was a lot of sun loungers that were reserved. We've noticed on the daily programme messages to say please do not reserve them, but nobody we've seen at all has policed this. There are lots of sun loungers that have got towels left on where clearly people have probably left. It really is a problem that if they just had someone on deck that did police that, as we have seen P&O have done labels in the past, that policing is not happening while we've been on this ship. We've not seen it once. And like we said, there is plenty of beds available, and it's just finding the right spots to put them, because sometimes they're not lined up in lines, they're all at different angles, people facing the sun, moving them around. It's quite difficult to get yourself a spot where you can slot in without blocking either a walkway or someone else's sun.
No, and I think it would help if P&O placed the sun loungers out first thing in the morning, like all of them.
Anyway, we found ourselves 2 sun loungers and we squeezed them in a corner out the way and set ourselves up there for majority of the day, really, didn't we? We just chilled out. It's our first time on, I don't know how many cruises where we've spent the day sat in the sun up on top deck, really, not doing anything else. So we had a really relaxing day.
We probably spent a good 5.5 hours just sunning ourselves up on the top deck. We positioned ourselves just in a place where we could still hear the entertainment from the main pool on deck 15 and 16, which was absolutely fantastic because there were a number of performances, daily activities. We joined the quiz.
We could hear the busker singing, doing her performances at the pool. We didn't even leave for lunch. We popped down and we grabbed ourselves a couple of burgers and some fries from the pool grill.
And a hot dog.
And a hot dog. Brought it back up to the sun lounge. So yeah, this was our most relaxing day I think we've ever had at sea.
The poolside grill is really efficient in terms of queuing. You do not have to wait long to get something to eat, even at peak times. They have the majority of foods all prepped and ready to go, and we didn't have to queue or wait very long.
We've been to other poolside grills and pizzerias where we've had to queue and wait. That didn't happen on this ship. It was really, really speedy.
Also, unlike our sunbed position on our first sea day on board Azura, which we were right at the top of deck 18 at the aft of the ship, this area had bar service, which was absolutely fantastic because we didn't have to keep going backwards and forwards.
Again, we didn't leave the sun lounger much at all.
Brilliant day.
After our relaxing morning, afternoon by the pool up on that sun deck area, we then headed to the main restaurant for afternoon tea.
Yes, afternoon tea is served on sea days from 3 till 4:30. You are encouraged to join a virtual queue, and that's exactly what we did, and we made our way down there at 4 o'clock.
We did get changed out of our sunbathing clothes first, put something a bit more sensible on.
We were seated and we were really, really impressed with the afternoon tea.
It was very, very nice actually. It was served to us on a stand, which we hadn't had in a main dining room afternoon tea on a ship for a long time.
When we were on Arvia, we did do the Epicurean afternoon tea, which was absolutely fantastic, but that was an additional charge. The afternoon tea here on Azura is included in your cruise fare, which is absolutely fantastic. On the tray were a number of sweet treats as well as a selection of sandwiches and rolls.
There was one unusual sandwich that we did not know what it was because it was like a black filling, really.
It was very, very unusual, and we had to ask the waiter because even after trying it and eating it, we had no idea what it was.
No.
And he told us it was a black bean filling. Mexican
First time
black
we've
bean.
ever had a black bean sandwich, so it was something different for us to try. I wouldn't be in a rush to have it again. I wasn't particularly keen on it,
I
but
wasn't.
I'm presuming it was like a vegan option or something like that. So
in addition to that, there was tuna, chicken and bacon, and egg. There were also an extensive selection of cakes, really. We had chocolate brownie, there was a poppy seed cake, we had a Black Forest Swiss roll, there was a cupcake, really, really nice sweet treats. And we also had some freshly made hot fruit scones.
lovely to have those warm when they arrived on our plate, which was great. The only one thing that we must mention is that there was no clotted cream in this afternoon tea. It was whipped cream instead.
But overall, an absolutely fantastic experience that is completely free and included in your cruise fare, and we strongly recommend that you make your way down there on a sea day. As we were leaving the Peninsula restaurant after our afternoon tea, we did notice that they were setting up the restaurant for tonight's formal night, and it did look absolutely fantastic.
Yes, so we headed back to our room then to get ready for formal night.
As we were getting ready, we joined that virtual queue for the main dining room, the Meridian restaurant, and again the Meridian restaurant had a lot fewer people in the virtual queue than the Peninsula one. Don't know why, it just seems to be happening just like that for some reason.
It must be the first place that people get to. I don't know why, but they always seem to go for the Peninsula over the Meridian.
They're exactly the same.
When I'm inside, I can't tell which one I'm in. You have to keep reminding me, don't you? Because I don't know. Tonight's menu though was extra special because it was the Marco Pierre White menu.
So suited and booted with our tux on, once again we made our way down to the Meridian restaurant on deck 5 and we were pretty much seated straight away. It was very, very quick and efficient. Unfortunately, they gave us not the best table we've had.
No, because there was a light bulb broken above our table, so we was kind of in the dark.
And tucked right to the back of 2 large 8-10 seater tables.
Yeah.
So we were kind of out of the way.
There was a poor elderly gentleman who was sat on the table next to us and he had to use the person's next to him's torch on their phone because he couldn't read the menu, it was so dark.
It was dark.
So yes, it was definitely dimly lit there.
However, as a result of it being that dark, we did notice that in the ceiling in the restaurant they got twinkling lights.
First time we'd sat in that area, so we hadn't sat underneath those twinkling lights before. It was quite nice little atmosphere there.
Another thing we picked up on is the branded cutlery.
On our, yeah, they've obviously all got brand new cutlery, but this seems to be classic P&O cutlery that obviously we haven't been on a ship of this age on the P&O fleet before, and we noticed that it has got that P&O symbol on all the cutlery. For starters then, actually for the whole menu, I went for the Marco Pierre White recommended menu.
I didn't actually fancy a lot of that, so I did a little bit of a mix and match.
First things first, we had an amuse-bouche of passion fruit and ginger, and it was really nice. I drank that straight away. That is one of the better ones of all of the ones I've tried now that I really liked. Part of the Marco Pierre White menu, I had the Parma ham and you had the dips. When they arrived, we decided to swap them over because I wasn't so keen on Parma ham. I like the look of those dips.
There were 3 different types of dips there and they came with a number of different breads and vegetables that you could use to dip in. Parma ham came with truffle oil and some Parmesan cheese and it was absolutely beautiful once again. Really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the dips. Really tasty, great flavours there, so we'll definitely have that again. We then had our soup courses, and this way got a little bit fun. It'll teach us to Google things before we choose things. So I had the cauliflower soup, no problems, very tasty, really enjoyed it. You, however, had
the other soup that was on the menu.
We don't even know how to pronounce
it. Just out of interest really, I ordered it. However, as soon as it came, I could smell that it had fish in it. Had a quick taste. It was incredibly fishy and I don't eat fish, so I couldn't eat it.
No.
But I'm sure it was lovely.
So damn that sea day being there, so we couldn't Google what it was. So sometimes it's about risk taking, isn't it? It didn't pay off that time. So for mine, I had the duo of lamb and beef fillet. And oh, it was so good. I could have had a double portion. It came with about 4 chips and 3 tomatoes, but it was very tasty.
And for my main, I chose to have the pork en croûte and it was absolutely delicious. Now, I was literally blown away by it because every single thing on that plate was absolutely gorgeous. They had some shredded potato that was fried, they had some stuffing, they had a roasted apple. It was absolutely delicious and a white sauce. It was beautiful, really well done. And it was presented absolutely beautifully.
We both really enjoyed those.
Really enjoyed.
Really did. And then it was time for dessert and we both went for the same thing. We both had the trio of chocolate. It was okay. The chocolate torte bit was the best.
Beautiful.
Really enjoyed that. The white chocolate mousse thing on the top wasn't great. It was fine.
We left the Meridian restaurant and made our way to the Glass House, and it is a really nice venue. You don't have to eat in there in order to go in there, sit down and order a couple of glasses of wine. It's beautifully decorated and it's just a nice bar to sit down, relax and enjoy some of the absolutely spectacular wines that are available.
As we've got the drinks package, we can try different ones, and that's exactly what we did. We ordered a couple of glasses of red that we hadn't had before and then headed down towards the theatre.
There was a little bit of controversy this evening because, as advertised, we were supposed to be having a production from the onboard headliners team. However, due to illness, they moved forward Harry Lineker's show, who we saw 2 nights ago.
Once again, he performed a selection of songs from the 60s up to modern day, a couple of musical songs. He did a couple of Michael Jackson songs actually, and we were really impressed with those.
Yeah,
he has got such a great voice.
Yeah, he mentioned that he actually auditioned for the Michael Jackson musical in the West End.
He didn't get through, but It was definitely worth seeing. So glad we got to see a second show, even though it wasn't what was advertised. After we left the theatre, we headed to the main atrium and noticed that the ball was going on. The ball is an event that takes place in the atrium every formal night or celebration night.
So it's quite a well-attended event. Participants have been practicing since they boarded, either on Friday or Saturday. It was really quite nice to watch. So we sat in the blue bar at the top of the atrium. Really nice venue, and you can sit at the top there and just watch all of the activities and events in the main atrium.
And you'll hear the dance instructors announce the next dance is a cha-cha-cha, and then he says take your partners, and then everyone hits the dance floor and struts their stuff. So it's quite nice to watch.
It was a really nice event for formal night, and again the vast majority of passengers were all dressed up as well.
It's a little bit stricter on this ship. We've noticed that there is signage about the ship that does say please only enter this venue if you've got the correct attire on. A little bit stricter than it has been on other ships, we've noticed.
After the blue bar, we made our way up to deck 16 and we walked across the top decks on our way to the Planet Bar. We took the opportunity to strike a few poses with those world famous statues on Azura.
That was a little bit of fun, trying to recreate the poses.
It was quite difficult actually.
We walked outside and the wind had picked up a little bit as well by then.
It was still beautifully warm though.
Still warm. We headed up to the Planet Bar, found a little spot by the window in the corner and had a couple of gin and tonics in there.
While the pianist played, which was really quite nice.
Nice formal night atmosphere in there, felt quite sophisticated, really enjoyed the couple of gin and tonics that we had, and it did feel nice being in our tuxes sat in there, didn't it?
Yeah, and again it's in a beautiful spot right at the aft of the ship. It's got windows all the way round, so you can just sit there and watch the world go by. It is a little bit out the way though.
Quite a mission to get to because it's not next to anything else. After enjoying a couple of drinks in the Planet Bar with the pianist, we headed down to Malabar. There's so much going on this ship.
We're backwards and forwards.
We managed to get a seat right at the front by the stage, so really lucky that we managed to get that spot. And we watched the busker perform. The busker on board Azura, her name is Ashley McHugh, and she's got a fantastic voice. We had heard her around the pool earlier on in the day, but this time she was doing a set of songs from the movies, and she definitely did a very eclectic set. So everything from
You Got a Friend in Me.
You've Got a Friend in Me from Toy Story.
All the way to This Is Me from
The Greatest Showman.
Really good. So we stayed in there until the end of the show. We had a couple of glasses of Prosecco, and after the show finished, we made our way to Manhattan.
It was still busy after Pulse had been performing their
Guilty Pleasures
sets. We grabbed a seat, and it wasn't long before we were joined by our friends on board, Sisters on the Seas, and we got chatting and chatted a bit more along with many a drink. We had a really good night with them.
There was a really good atmosphere in the Manhattan bar this evening. Lots and lots of people in there just having fun and dancing to the late night disco, which is quite nice because the last few nights it's been a little bit quiet.
We were having so much fun that Dom nearly missed the midnight buffet.
So close. I had to rush to the midnight buffet.
It was about 5 to 1 and he was in a panic. So you ran upstairs to the midnight buffet.
Collected some goodies, brought it back to the cabin, and then went back downstairs to the Manhattan bar.
So you didn't let that stop the party, did you?
I did not. Unfortunately, the midnight buffet does close at 1. Get there any later than 1 o'clock, they will not let you have anything.
To be fair, on this ship, it's not well attended, is it?
No, really quiet. Really quiet. But again, really impressed with the selection.
We spent probably another half an hour in the Manhattan bar. There were lots of people on the dance floor dancing, really enjoying themselves, weren't there? But we were chatting, and then we headed back up to the cabin, where Dom then enjoyed his his selection of midnight buffet snacks.
And then bed.
And bed.
So tomorrow we're in the beautiful port of Santa Cruz.
Yes, we're in Santa Cruz, La Palma this time, not to be confused with the other Santa Cruz in Tenerife.
I've never been to La Palma, so I'm really looking forward to getting off and having a look around. We've not arranged any excursions. It's just a case of us getting off and having a walk.
So please join us in our next vlog to find out how we get on in La Palma.
If you've got any questions, just pop them in the box below and we'll get back to you.
And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks for watching. We've got lots more content available on our YouTube channel, so press that subscribe button. If you're interested in receiving daily updates, we're available on most social media platforms. Just search for Tom and Dom Travel.